Thanks, listeners. It is Tuesday, and that means time to go over Elko City news in advance of this afternoon's regular Elko City Council meeting. That begins at 4 o'clock today, and we are pleased to feature our Elko City Manager, Jan Baum, in studio to help us through the agenda today. Welcome, Jan. It's great to see you.
Thank you for having me, Lori. Yes, it's Tuesday, so we're getting ready for a City Council meeting at 4 o'clock, and so here to update.
Thank you so much. We'll dive right into some of the agenda items. There are a couple of things that may not be on the agenda, but you're obviously gearing up for a micro slurry seal season, and it's that time of year, and we just want people to know whether it's in neighborhoods or if it impacts businesses.
Absolutely. So I have a small list of the highlighted areas. Of course, they're also going to be in a few miscellaneous residential areas, and I don't have the exact map yet, but that will come out with the public service announcement. The micro slurry will start on August 5th, so we have a little time. But the main areas are Idaho Street from 12th to 30th Street, so that'll affect you, Lori.
Yes.
Ruby Vista from East Jennings to Paradise. 12th Street from Idaho to Lamoille Highway. And then again, just some miscellaneous residential areas on both the south side and the north side. So it's all, it's a little bit disruptive when the micro slurry comes through, but once it's finished, it's so nice and just is great to have it done. So it's a necessary evil for sure.
We will be talking about that and reminding people, you're right, they'll have some temporary closures. You'll just want to know about it in case there's any detour or delay. But it's pretty short-lived, and it prolongs that pavement. So
absolutely. It's so helpful with the pavement and like Idaho Street, when we had to redo that entire street, it cost the city millions of dollars. So it's great to have the micro slurry and extend the life of our streets. And so it's a welcome project. And like you said, it goes pretty fast. Once they micro slurry over a street, the closure isn't too long. So
thanks, Jan, for the update there.
Absolutely.
And again, that starts on August 5th. On the agenda today, there'll be a presentation by the mayor in recognition of National Night Out. I was looking at the proclamation, Jen. Has it really been 41 years?
Oh, that's crazy. You're right. But time flies, right?
Yeah, it does.
And I do want to tell you that actually the mayor will not be there tonight. He's out of town, and so that will be the mayor pro tem, which is Mandy Simons.
Oh, and she knows how to get through a meeting.
Right?
She does a good job. Yes.
The staff is always
They're pretty excited,
right? Excited when it's Mandy because she keeps it going. So.
Well, and that's when you're head of a household as she is, well, obviously with her husband, but they have many children. I think she knows how to keep things rolling. So, yes.
Right.
So the 41st National Night Out, and that is going to be on August 6th. It's a nationwide crime, drug, and violence prevention program. It really is just a big picnic in the park for everybody.
It absolutely is. And it's just, come visit with the police officers, come visit with our public safety community and just come out and have a barbecue. Yeah, it's great.
It's so nice to see our law enforcement. You can thank them in person. You can get to know them. You can find out more maybe about careers in law enforcement or even becoming a volunteer.
Absolutely. And it is a great, it's a great employment opportunity and just an entire career. And so, yes, come down and visit with our guys and gals that are in the police department. And, I can't say enough great things about our police department and how professional they are and what a high standard they have. So it's a great opportunity.
Thanks, Jan. We'll have our police chief on the radio show. He's coming on Thursday with our Sheriff Aitor Narvaeza and for their regular check-in as they do once a month. And I know he'll be excited to help promote National Night Out. They're also recruiting and training some new employees, I think, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. We have 2 in post right now, and they just started, I think, about a week ago and maybe 2 weeks ago now. But yeah, they're doing great, and we're always excited to have new officers in post.
Yep, that is a great commitment to the community. So moving on to the consent agenda, we do get to thank a longtime member and supporter in our community of arts and culture and member of the advisory board, Cynthia Delaney, and her wonderful husband, and I think their little dog. They're all relocating from Elko. So sadly, she's resigning from our arts and culture advisory board.
Yes, it is unfortunate, and if anybody is interested, because the next item is to recruit for members of that board. So if anybody's interested in being on the Arts and Culture Board, for sure, get on our website once that's been approved to post and apply for that. So we are always looking for more interest.
We'd be happy to obviously, encourage people, Jan, and if you want to talk to other board members about what their responsibilities are. I think it's really a fun board. Councilwoman Vice Mayor Mandy Simons is the city liaison on the board. So.
Right, and Scott Wilkinson is very involved, and so if people have questions, they can ask him as well. And he's really taken this under his wing and enjoys it and does a great job with it.
Yeah, there are so many projects, whether it's the murals or the sculptures that we've enjoyed. There are plenty more projects to be done and other groups that you collaborate with. So this is a wonderful opportunity, and you don't have to be an artist. That's the other nice thing.
No, absolutely not. You don't, and you also work really closely, on occasion with the RDA.
Yes.
And we're always looking for ways for the RDA to complete their projects, and they do such a great job with our downtown area. So, yeah, for sure. If there's interest, please apply for that.
All right. Arts and Culture Advisory Board vacancy. And then there are open positions on the Airport Advisory Board as well. That board has been a bit idle since the COVID pandemic, and so they'd like to ramp things back up in time for the Flight Alliance, of which we're going to talk more about too, Jan.
Oh, great. So, yes, the Airport Advisory Board has been silent since the pandemic, and Jim Foster there's been some interest expressed for that advisory board, and so we'll be recruiting for that. And so most definitely, if you're interested in the airport or the operations of the airport, how it works, I'm sure it'll be a great educational experience as well.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to be a pilot or be associated, just be an interested volunteer. It's kind of like getting a master's degree on the cheap. You learn, so that's what Mandy Simons said.
That's what I feel like right now. I know more about airports than I ever guessed. And but it's just such an amazing asset for our entire community, not just the city of Elko, but Elko County and Lander County and Eureka County and even down to White Pound County. It's just, we are so fortunate to have that beautiful airport. And so that'd be a fun advisory board.
Yeah, you would work with some fantastic people, including Jim Foster and his staff. And again, it's always an opportunity, if you think about it this way, when you volunteer on these advisory boards as a citizen, as a community member, you never know what it could lead to. That's what our mayor used to be, a city planner, and that was a volunteer position.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it always is. And I just want to mention, since we're talking about the airport, they are having an event on Friday. The Kingdom Grub they are actually a food truck currently, but it's going to be the Kingdom Grub Cafe in the airport, and they're having their grand opening on Friday. So if anybody is interested, drop by for lunch on Friday and wish them well and join the grand opening for the Kingdom Grub.
Plenty of free parking. The airport is easily accessible, and whether or not you've been a fan of Kingdom Grub before, you will be after this, and it is so nice to support, especially these small family-owned businesses, Jan, so this is a great way to do that.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you mentioned the parking. So people get a little confused when they come for lunch to the airport, but you're more than welcome to just park in the regular parking. And the regular parking lot for the airport has 2 hours of free parking, and so usually people are done with lunch within 2 hours. If for some reason you're there longer than 2 hours for like the grand opening or a long lunch, if you just ask for the airport, they'll be sure and help you with that, because we don't want to be we don't charge people to come and eat lunch at the airport.
Yeah, I'm glad.
parking.
Yeah, I guess I'm glad I mentioned that too, because you're right. There are two different choices you can make right as you come in the airport. So you want to just take that short-term parking.
Absolutely.
Free
You can
parking, okay.
just park right there. Well, you can park inside the regular airport where you get the ticket, but it's free for 2 hours.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
And so you're fine. And you're right. You can park in front of the airport as well. But yeah, so most definitely we don't want to be charging patrons of the restaurant for their parking.
Oh, good. Okay. So enjoy that on Friday, Kingdom Grub. And again, many happy wishes and a great future ahead for that small business here in Elko. And that leads into some other airport business, a letter of support for the Small Community Air Service Development Program for a grant application.
Yeah, so this grant application had kind of a short turnaround. I want to say we found out about it in the middle to end of June, and it's due, I believe, Thursday. So, but anyway, we're asking the City Council for a letter of support, and so this grant, basically what we're going to try to get with the grant is some funding to add a second flight into Elko with SkyWest. So we're excited about this. We're hopeful that it's a grant that we can secure.
Sounds fantastic. So that'll be on the agenda today. And then moving on to personnel, it looks as though you may finally be able to fill that so important city clerk position with this next agenda item. Jan, if you want to bring us up to date.
Oh, for sure. So we've gone through a couple formal interviews for the city clerk position. And I do want to note, while we're talking about this, that Kathy Laughlin, our city planner, has been the acting city clerk for the last probably month now, and she's doing an amazing job, and so we're just so thankful for her efforts. And so anyway, we went through the formal interview process. We had 2 formal interviews, and with the various selection committee members, and Annette Robinson, who is currently the city clerk tech 2 at the city clerk office. She is our top candidate that we're taking to council for approval. So anyway, I'm excited for Annette. She's very professional. She's a very fast learner, and she's really been in the city clerk office by herself for the last month and a half, and she has done an amazing job. She's just really never complains, just happy to be there, and so I think that she will be she's a great candidate, and hopeful that City Council will move forward with her employment as a city clerk.
Well, that's great. The review committee, again, recommended her as the finalist, Annette Robinson, and a lot of people may remember Annette in her many years at the Elko County Library, and she's, as you said, I think she's just so conscientious, and I know that even in the position as a tech that she brought a lot of things, forward and really helped to organize that office and just, keep business licenses and, reminding people the importance of, just a lot of different duties that she performed.
And she was primarily the business license person, and she really took that over. And like you said, she organized it in a different way, and she did a great job with it. And you're right, explaining to business patrons why it's important to have a business license. And she's just done a really good job.
Well, that's great. And hopefully the City Council gives that serious consideration when they meet today. It's always a pleasure to see professional people promoted in these positions locally whenever possible. So I'm wishing her the best this afternoon. So
yes, I am as well. And so I'm excited for her.
Sounds good. Under appropriations, a purchase of some big equipment. We don't usually go through these things line by line, but this one's pretty pricey. It is a new sweeper when you see those big sweeper trucks come through. So this one's about $353,000.
They're just so expensive, aren't they? And so I don't know, the last 2 years it's been a cricket sweeper. So I guess I'm hopeful that maybe we won't have to do that in the future, but who knows? And with the cycles of the crickets. And but yes, Paul Algerio will present that item, and it was approved in the budget, and so I'm sure that council will approve that purchase.
So on the next item, it's always important to mention that there are frequent, regular inspections of our reservoirs, storage reservoirs, things like that within the community, any kind of infrastructure. And it looks as though there was some concern about the North Reservoir, East Embankment, starting to fail. So it wasn't a big concern, but now it's time to make some repairs.
Yes, and this is a preventative repair for sure. It hasn't failed, but it was starting to show some wear on the sides of the affluent embankment, and so Dale Johnson, who is who is our utility director, he will be presenting that item, and it's so important that we continually maintain the WRF and our water and our sewer infrastructure for sure.
Thanks, Jan. The next item is to solicit bids for the sewer collection system assessment. And as you just mentioned, this is an ongoing process. And this is something, I don't know if it's sonar, but it says acoustic transmission to locate problems within the pipes.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's pretty high tech. So this is probably a Dale Johnson question, but he tried to explain it to me the other day. And really what it is currently, especially in the tree streets and in different areas of the city, there are obstructions in the sewer lines and, like tree roots and things like that. And so the way we have to find those currently is to take the vac truck and, try to kind of snake back in there. And so apparently this software, it can kind of radar, I don't know, it hooks to the sewer system and kind of radars, and it can tell you where the obstructions are rather than us kind of guessing. And so based on where the software says the obstruction is, then we can go forward with the needed repairs and things like that. So I think, yeah, it's great tech.
Right. Brand new technology. There isn't a price listed on this one, Jan, but I guess that'll come up during the meeting if we know how much it might cost. Or
oh yeah, so I thought it was on here. Actually, I think it is.
Oh, in a different place.
Yeah, I think it's on the summary sheet. I apologize.
Oh,
I
no,
want to
that's
say
okay.
169,000. It's pretty spendy, but I believe it was on the summary sheet.
Oh,
so.
sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sure as you said, that'll come up during that. It's always
Absolutely.
good to know that. Mm-hmm. But it is the latest in technology, and when you think about the manpower required to do it manually, then I'm sure that will result in a big savings. Otherwise, Mr. Johnson would not have recommended that.
Absolutely,
So.
and sometimes, it would. What I think it helps with is us being more proactive, right? So you can find the obstructions, you can find the problems, and maintain those problems before there's a sewer backup in somebody's basement or something like that. And yes, maybe the cost of that sewer backup isn't as much as this technology or whatever, but I don't know how
the
much
agony.
stress.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
going through that as a homeowner.
Mm-hmm, yeah, the stress and everything having to do with that, and the time, and so I believe that this kind of technology comes into place because it is more proactive.
Well, thanks, Jan, for the update. Council meets at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that's just one of the agenda items. And then moving on, looking at giving a little more time for the Zephyr Heights subdivision by Jordan L. Third Mortgage. They could have as long as 2 years. They're asking for an extension to present a final map for their Zephyr Heights subdivision, right?
Yes. So, and this happens on occasion. They present their initial map, and then the 2 years. The 2 years goes by, and then we have to grant an extension. So that's kind of a housekeeping type item. Of course, if it keeps going on and on, then that council will have to look at that. But usually that first extension is granted.
And then looking over the next agenda item, if I recall, but I obviously could be mistaken, but at 111 West Front Street, looking at adjusting a boundary line, this may have had to do with that sidewalk, curb, and gutter that the property owner's looking at doing, or?
Right, I think that's where Frontier Communications is.
Oh, okay.
And I believe they're wanting to split that lot or something into a couple different lots, and so doing a boundary line adjustment on that.
Okay, so whether or not that it doesn't necessarily defer any improvements that need to be made, but obviously it's important to get that on the agenda. So,
Oh, absolutely. And have the boundary lines recorded properly, of course, for future.
and then moving on, looking at a lease between the City of Elko and the TV District for 20 years for some snowball property that they need, I guess, for some communications up there.
Yeah, so they're going to run, the TV district is going to put power up there. And so they're actually running it from the backside. And we went through this, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, where we went through and took it to council and asked them if they were, receptive or would want to get into an agreement with the TV district and allow them to lease some property on the top of the snow bowl. And so council was in agreement with that. And so this is the agreement. And you're right, it'll be for 20 years. The Elko TV district obviously is another, governmental entity. And so, but in the big picture, we're hopeful that eventually that will lead to some power to the snow bowl. And currently the snow bowl, and many people probably don't realize this, but the snow bowl is run off of generators, a great big generator. And so having power up there will be great for the city of Elko and, of course, for the TV district. So I think it's a good partnership.
Yeah, it sounds great. That will certainly be a money saver.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of money saving, moving on to the next topic, this has to do with the geothermal resource. And decades ago, this was such a big deal in Elko. There were some really forward-thinking people, and they developed a geothermal resource right here in the city. There's a private Elko heat company that continues to utilize this resource to heat private homes, and I believe there may be some businesses. But this one had to do with a second source, and this was the City of Elko was among the partners. So this consideration is actually kind of the end of an era when the city would withdraw from the Geothermal User Association. But if you read the contract agreement, it sounds as though the city could loop back in if they found it was necessary at some point in the future.
Absolutely. So, yes, good summary, Lori. Thank you. So you're right. There were many entities that were on the geothermal loop years ago. And I believe that right when I started at the city about 5 years ago was about when it started to phase out. So currently the geothermal loop is not usable because of some maintenance issues. And I believe the school district was on that. And I can't remember if the ECVA was on it at one time, but there was thoughts for them to be on it, and perhaps even the college and of course the city because of the pool. And it was a great savings to heat the pool. And I'm sure that's what's driving some of this reconstruction of the geothermal loop is, as we know, the Boys and Girls Club is building a recreation center, which will include a pool, and so having this geothermal loop to heat that pool will be vital to their operational costs going forward. And so back in, I believe it was June of 2023, we took an item to council asking if they would like to be part of the reconstruction or the repairs of the geothermal loop, which I'm sure will cost millions of dollars. And because we will no longer have the pool on the loop, and we just have City Hall, City Council chose not to be part of that process. And so I'm sure for the entities that are remaining in the geothermal loop, it'll be important for them to have the group formed and have it finalized of who's part of it and who's not. And so to formally have different entities withdraw from the geothermal group makes sense to me. And so anyway, the withdrawing entities are the City of Elko, the ECVA, and Great Basin College. It does say the Elko City County Civic Auditorium Authority, so that's dated, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and then the remaining entities will be Elko County School District and the Boys and Girls Club. And I believe the agreement had to change a little bit because the Boys and Girls Club is not a governmental entity, and previously it was all governmental entities. But primarily, I think the new geothermal group, that's what it's for, is to maintain and keep the geothermal loop going. So I wish them well, and I hope it goes really well for them, because it'll be important in heating not only the pools, but the school district. It'll save them so much money on heating all their large buildings.
Yeah, it's all contained in this contract that's being presented. The council, as you mentioned, is already formally bowed out of participating, but this is just to get things in writing. And it does say in the agreement that in the event that the geothermal resource is insufficient to satisfy the needs of those who are left on the system, which, as you mentioned, could be boys and girls with a recreation center. But there is a priority list because Elko schools are on there, Flagview Intermediate and Elko High Campus, and the school administrative offices. So obviously they'd be, looking at, but the system, once it's repaired, should be fully capable of continuing to heat those facilities.
Absolutely, and I think there are some provisions in there if an entity does want to tie back in. I don't know exactly the cost for somebody to tie back in, but I'm sure that would be available.
Yeah, and I think all of this is contingent on getting several $1 million, as you mentioned. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar resource, but because it's fallen in disrepair, it's not worth anything to anyone when it's not in good shape.
Absolutely, and the geothermal well is still there, and it's functioning very well, which is very important, and it produces a lot of hot water, and so it'll be just great to take advantage of that.
And that well will be retained by the Elko County School District, according to the contract. So again, it's a good, balance of, maintaining this public resource in the future. So that'll be discussed during this afternoon's meeting, and the city may well formally sign off on that, leaving the Boys and Girls Clubs and the Elko County School District. And then we wish them luck, and we all hope to hear that they get a multi-million-dollar federal grant to repair the geothermal loop. It's certainly a green energy project.
Exactly, and that is initiative for the federal government for sure. So I would hope that they would be granted that, but I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Yep. Thanks, Jan, obviously, for taking us down that road. Just checking to see, there's an agreement, too, between Javiation, and that is the City of Elko, and the contract that covers project management associated with the airport, and that's huge.
Absolutely.
We couldn't do it locally.
Right, and so the City of Elko and the Elko Regional Airport is planning to rehabilitate the commercial service apron. Huge project for Jim Foster and his team down there, and it'll be a $6 million project, and we're hoping to have that done this summer, fall, and so we put it out to bid last summer, and it came back with just a really high bid, and so the engineers, which includes Javiation, which is now Woolpert, going back and reevaluating the engineering of that project. And so now we're going to do that with asphalt instead of cement, and it'll be 18 inches thick. And anyway, so I'm sure it'll last longer than, the 20 years that the cement that we have just lasted.
Well, thanks, Jan, again for the update heading into this afternoon's regular council meeting at 4 o'clock today. Open to the community, of course. Your participation's encouraged, either online or in person. It's always nice. And didn't know if there were any job openings. Still looking for a civil engineer, or? Actually,
that just closed, but we are still looking for that. And we did not have any applicants that were qualified, so we'll be probably opening that again. And then I just wanted to tell you, I looked up real quick while we were on the phone, or while we were visiting, but the sewer collection system assessment is a little over $186,000. So it is very expensive, and I'm sure that Dale Johnson will do a great job at explaining that to council, and and the positives of what that brings to the city of Elko and our sewer lines.
Absolutely, and especially, as you said, in all these tree streets, majority of the city, well, I don't know, I shouldn't say that. I don't know that I can qualify that, but so many homes that are in the city, they're older, and with that older infrastructure and mature landscaping, it really can create some serious issues.
It absolutely can. Those roots always gravitate towards moisture, which is yuck. But anyway, it's very needed, and it's a great way way to be more proactive with our sewer lines for sure. And I just thought of one more thing that maybe we could just touch on is everybody knows, or most people know, that there was a software glitch last week that affected a lot of the airlines. And the plane, actually the plane that came into Elko was canceled for one day because of that software glitch. And but it has been running since. And it was painful for a lot of passengers, especially Delta. I don't know why Delta has been so affected by it, but they most definitely have. But we just wanted to tell everybody it has nothing to do with the airport or the city of Elko. We're still moving, we're still going. And if you are still having problems or have questions, then feel free to contact Delta, which I think right now is not real easy because of how overwhelmed they are. But I just wanted to reiterate that the city of Elko and the Elko Regional Airport is continuing to have customer service and welcome passengers, and I know the plane is now, it's moving.
That is good to know, because small and lean is good. Sometimes the bigger you get, the harder it is.
Right.
So, yes.
It was a cybersecurity software update, and boy, did it really cause a lot of problems.
Yeah. So I'm still feeling the effects of that, I know. So a lot of people's travel was delayed. And so, but thanks again for staying on top of that, Jim Foster and all of his staff and everybody. Again, great customer service. As you said, you'll always get a call or a return email or whatever it is. You get great service from the Elko Regional Airport. So.
Oh, yeah, they do a great, and speaking of lean, they have a really small team, a team of 5, and they do an amazing job out there.
Jan, thank you so much, and have a great council meeting. Again, it starts at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Thanks for being on the program.
Yes, thank you.